We have to recognize a reality. This is not your grandmother's climate change anymore. It is a new beast. It is an accelerated thing that demands emergent action. And Republican and fossil fuel efforts to defeat climate change, what was objectionable a year ago is now morally repugnant. And thank goodness that we have an administration who understands that we must act with alacrity now more than ever. And the message of that historic vote a year ago was one of inspiration. It gave us hope for the future. Our children need hope for the future right now. We cannot allow them to live in the shadow of despair. And that gave them hope. But there's another thing I want to mention about this vote. That act, the IRA, the Infrastructure Act, were not the culmination of our national efforts. They're an inspiration for further efforts, not a culmination. And thank goodness the state of Washington is a leading state, so the state of Washington can even go faster and farther than the rest of the country. And that's what we're doing. But let me turn to the reason that this is a win-win solution for the nation, for the world, and the state of Washington. It means jobs all across the state of Washington. Already, the combination of the Infrastructure Act and the IRA, we've got 2 new silicon battery companies going on in Moses Lake. Yes, Moses Lake, Washington is a hub of clean energy. Right today in Moses Lake, we're building 700 new charging stations so people can drive their electric cars, leading the transition to an electric future. All across the state of Washington, this is jobs as it is across the United States. And this is what I can tell you about the Biden-Harris administration. They're turning the Rust Belt in the Midwest to a clean energy belt of jobs in the Midwest and the United States. This is an incredible achievement. So on behalf of the state of Washington, on behalf of our 6 grandchildren, who've been given a dose of hope to the IRA, thank you to Vice President Harris and President Biden. Let's continue this great effort. Let's go get them.
Please welcome Senator Maria Cantwell.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here with all of you, but we want to thank Vice President Harris for choosing Seattle to celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act anniversary. You came to the right place. You are at one of the nation's most innovative economies in the country, and Seattle and Washington have long been the epicenter of affordable energy pricing. And we know that today we might have record heat in Seattle, but we also have a record investment in diversifying our energy future and driving down costs for consumers. So yes, Washington, we are leading the nation and accelerating the clean energy transition. And thank you, Jennifer Granholm, for the amount of investment that is allowing us to lead the nation in innovation. The Inflation Reduction Act is 10 years of predictable investment so that companies like McKinstry's and others can do the innovation that is going to give consumers choice. It has unleashed already $110 billion in investment in the state of Washington to drive new jobs and opportunities for Washingtonians. So the Inflation Reduction Act isn't just about this change. It is about saying that legacy companies just holding on to record profits is not the direction that we need to go. The direction we need to go is in innovation that lowers costs for consumers and drives new jobs for Washingtonians. Seattle is the home to the smartest building in the country. We are a state that recognizes and celebrates energy efficiency, and McKinstry right here is leading the country with over 1,000 unionized construction jobs that are building energy efficiency in every part of our state. They are building the Catalyst building and a block in Spokane that is one of the most energy efficiency blocks in the nation. And thanks to the IRA and the tax credits in solar and in storage and in energy efficiency, McKinstry is going to grow their work in energy efficiency. They're saying doubling or even tripling the amount of opportunities. So yes, we're here to celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act. We're here also to celebrate that we are one of the highest nations of EVs, electric vehicles, per capita in the nation. Why? Because we believe in driving down those fuel costs. We, in passing this act, gave a $7,500 credit for new cars and $4,000 for used EVs, because we want Washingtonians to be able to save dollars. That is, that a typical driver filling up every week could save as much as $2,000 a year by switching over to electric vehicle. So you bet the Biden-Harris administration incented electric vehicles, and I was proud to vote for it. But the IRA isn't just about EVs and smart buildings. Madam Vice President, you might see we actually do something else. We build airplanes. And that airplane economy is now being switched over to focus on sustainable aviation fuel. The tax credit that I helped author that was part of this act is helping companies like Boeing, Alaska, and the SeaTac Airport transition to sustainable aviation fuels. And guess what? They're building right here in the state of Washington. So we're doing everything we can, from building those buildings to EVs to planes. And just yesterday, I was in Longview, Washington, to celebrate another investment made possible by the Inflation Reduction Act. A company called Divert, investing in Longview, is taking food waste that otherwise would go to landfills and instead making clean, carbon-neutral natural gas and building 40 new jobs in a part of our state where we need to revive manufacturing. So the IRA is working. It's working here with federal investments, it's reducing the cost to consumers, and it's building our future jobs and economy. We couldn't be more proud of the Biden-Harris administration for turning this ship and getting us going in the right direction. You have given us the opportunities for America's future. Now, I'd like to have Ichiro, Edgar, and Ken Griffey all back, but this is what the Biden administration has done for us. They have given us a landmark infrastructure bill in transportation, a CHIPS and Science bill, and an IRA. So they have given us certainty for investment, certainty for our future, and certainty to helping us lower costs. Thank you all very, very much.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Woo! Can I just say, I am surely the luckiest energy secretary in the history of the United States, because I've been crisscrossing the country at all these ribbon cuttings and these groundbreakings. But this is actually super special because today we're celebrating the law that made all of those investments and the ones to come possible. Super special to be able to do this with, I know the Mayor Harrell is here, Senator Cantwell, of course, Governor Inslee, of course, our gracious hosts here at McKinstry, and Madam Vice President, who has just been amazing inside of the White House as the champion for clean energy. You're going to hear from her, but man, as we mark this truly American victory, I'm actually reminded of a conversation that I had in China 10 years ago. I was the governor of Michigan And all right, Michiganders, that's good. But after I was done, I went to China because I was trying to investigate what it was that China was doing to be able to get all of this clean energy investment that we were not doing in the United States. In fact, as governor, I was trying to recruit all these global companies to come to Michigan, but our competitors, economic competitors, were bringing out the big guns. I mean, they had so many more incentives, et cetera. We had this philosophy as a nation of, hands off, laissez-faire, let the global market decide. In China, we went and saw all of these investments that China was making, and at one of these demonstrations, I was standing next to a mayor of one of the cities in a province, and he says to me, he leans over and he says, gee, when do you think the United States is going to get clean energy policy? It's a federal matter. And I said, oh my God, Congress, I don't know when that's ever, and he just gave a big grin and he said, take your time. Take your time, because they saw the US's passivity as their opportunity. Governors felt like we were bringing a knife to a gunfight in trying to recruit clean energy investment. And the United States didn't have an answer until the Inflation Reduction Act, right? So now here's our pitch to clean energy producers. Okay, you'll get a 30% tax credit when you pay prevailing wages and use registered apprentices. You'll get another 10% if you use American-made components. You'll get another 10% if you locate your project in an energy community. You'll get another 10%. This is all stackable. Another 10% when you locate in a low-income community or on tribal lands. Or you'll get 20% more when you benefit low and moderate income households, or if it's within an affordable housing plan. That means some projects will get a 70% tax credit. We are the irresistible nation now for clean energy investment, thanks to this. And the proof of this is that in just 1 year, companies have announced, since this 1 year, $110 billion worth of new clean energy projects on American soil using American workers. I have had the pleasure of visiting solar projects from New Hampshire to Kentucky to Nevada, wind projects from Louisiana to Rhode Island, battery projects from Arizona to West Virginia, new transmission lines across the nation to feed clean energy from Wyoming to the Southwest. I've traveled with the Vice President, making all of this case across the country, amplifying, letting people know that this is a result of this Invest in America agenda. The American energy sector has never been more electrifying. In fact, today, just want you to know that the Department of Energy, we do a lot of modeling, right? And we just came out with our new projections based upon the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. You're the first to know that by 2030, as a result of these laws, 80% of all electricity that we generate could be clean. 80%. That's nearly double the current share by 2030. And second, it's great, right? The president has a goal of getting to 100% clean by 2035, 80% by 2030. Second, with all this electrification, we could slash our net crude oil imports by almost 60%. And that strengthens energy security. And third, we could save American families $40 billion on electricity bills by the end of the decade. I'm just saying, every so often, the federal government passes a law that cements America's leadership on the global stage. I may be biased, but I believe the Inflation Reduction Act is going to be enshrined on that list. The moment America refused to be passive any longer, we are back in the game, baby. And I am one proud energy secretary, and I'm even a prouder American. Thank you all so much.
Please welcome McKinstry HVAC Service Technician Cameron Bowers.
Holy moly, look at you guys. Hi, my name is Cameron. I'm a second-year apprentice with, redo. I'm a second-year apprentice with UA Local 32, working in HVAC service technician with McKinstry. I didn't think I would be here today. I got this phone call yesterday saying I'd be seeing all you faces today, but I am so excited and I'm so happy that you guys are here to celebrate this with us today. And just to start off, there are so many things that I can't do in this speech to tell you how much I appreciate this, not a job, but a career pathway that I chose. And I have my dad to thank for all of it. So when I was in high school, I did a program called Running Start, and it's where, for those of you who don't know, you guys get your college credits when you guys are getting your high school credits. So you guys graduate with your associate's degree and your high school diploma at the same time. So as I was doing that, I was just growing up, schools are saying, hey, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do in college? What are you gonna be when you grow up? So I thought, hey, pre-nursing, DTA, and labor and delivery. Does it look like I'm doing that now? I took the hardest pivot. A day before my last winter quarter is when I switched over and I was like, I don't see myself doing this anymore. And growing up, I was my dad's shadow. If you saw my dad, I wasn't too far behind him. And any project that we did together, if it was hands-on, cars, home improvement, I was always there with him. And so after the 2008 recession hit, him being a heavy equipment operator, there wasn't a whole lot of work. So he took up Bates Technical College for HVAC. And again, like I said earlier, me being his shadow, guess what I was doing Saturday mornings? I was going to school with Dad. And what much can a 12-year-old do in a fab shop aside from engrave initials on tools and be the gopher? Go for this, go for that, go for this. And what he did, and hearing him come home from work and talking about his day, just really inspired me to where if he can do it, I can do it. And so as a woman in the trades, I do as much as I can to advocate for kids who just don't know what they want to do. Or maybe those who are halfway through their careers and they're like, man, I just don't like it anymore. Because how many kids are in my shoes to where I did the college, not all the college, but I did the college. I did 2 years of it, and it was 2 years too much for me. But thankfully, I was able to get help and direction from those around me and those in the union and down at the apprenticeship hall to get me in that right direction for this career. And it's so rewarding. It's hard to explain, without you guys being out there with me, but it's rewarding every day because I get an opportunity to work with such skilled technicians out in the field that offer nothing but support and want to see you succeed. That they want to send me off as soon as I'm ready, and they want to make sure that I know everything that I can. I never will know everything in this trade because it's growing and flourishing so much every single day that you're never going to be a master at your trade, but you can be pretty good at some parts of it. So I've met those gentlemen and they are incredible technicians. As I said, there's so much accelerated change in the industry happening now, which is creating more demand for people like me, kids like me. And when I think for the reason for this celebration, the IRA legislation, I'm grateful for investments like this and to know there's money and resources going into making buildings safer, healthier, and more energy efficient. And now it's an honor for me to introduce Vice President Harris, whose leadership helped pass this legislation. This year, she has traveled the country meeting with community leaders, workers like me, students, and environmental advocates to highlight the administration's efforts and hear directly from Americans and what this investment means to them. Thank you.
Cameron, you're not your dad's shadow anymore. You're standing tall. You're standing tall. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be back. Good afternoon. Governor Inslee, thank you for all that you are and all you have done. You and I have had so many conversations over the year, and I will say that among those who are leaders in our country, and by extension in the world, on the issue of what we must do with a sense of urgency to protect, preserve, and love our planet, you are one of the greatest leaders. So it is good to be with you. And Trudy, thank you both. Thank you. And thank you for the warm welcome to Washington. I want to thank our Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. She is extraordinary. She has been traveling the country, and she's a true partner to the President and me. And my dear friend, Senator Maria Cantwell, where are you? There you are. Hi. So Senator Cantwell and I served together in the United States Senate, and so I have seen her work close up. I have seen her in rooms where there are cameras. I have seen her in rooms where there are no cameras. She's the same person everywhere. She is always fighting for the people, and she is truly one of our nation's greatest climate leaders. And I want to thank you for that. And on the most recent work that has happened and on the detail of her leadership, she helped pass the CHIPS and Science Act. And that, of course, is historic in terms of its investment in climate innovation. And these are investments which will, and she always emphasizes this, it will create jobs and opportunity, not only here in Washington, but around the country. So thank you, Senator Cantwell, for your leadership always. Thank you. Thank you. And Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, I thank you. Mayor Bruce Harrell, thank you for meeting me on the tarmac and for your leadership and friendship always. And to all the activists, organizers, and young leaders here today, it is because of you and your partnership and the enthusiasm and the passion that you bring to this work that President Biden and I are taking on one of the most urgent issues of our time. And of course, that is the climate crisis. Every day around the world, the impact of the climate crisis is stark, and it is vivid. We are seeing it in real time. Here, of course, in Washington state, you have endured deadly heat waves and devastating wildfires. And across our nation, we see communities choked by drought, washed out by flood, and decimated by hurricanes. And of course, we are all praying for the people of Maui. Far too many lives lost. Far too many lives lost. Homes lost, businesses lost, livelihoods lost. And of course, we have to recognize and pay special attention to the Native Hawaiian community, which has seen some of their most sacred cultural sites destroyed. And so I will say that President Biden and I will continue to do all that we can to help the people of Hawaii, and both in terms of what they need now, but what they need in terms of recovery and what they will need to rebuild. So all of that to say, it is clear the clock is not just ticking, it is banging. And that is why 1 year ago, President Biden and I made the largest climate investment in America's history. And this work was designed to dramatically expand solar and wind energy production, to lower energy costs for working families, and to put millions of electric vehicles on the road, including thousands of electric school buses, so that, of course, our children can have clean air to breathe. And it is with these investments that we are clear. We are creating millions of good-paying, clean energy jobs. We are rebuilding America's manufacturing, and we are driving American innovation, something this state knows so well. In total, President Biden and I have committed nearly $1 trillion to build a thriving, clean energy economy for America. And I have seen, and Cameron mentioned this, I have seen our progress firsthand. I've been traveling our country, and for example, in April, I was in Dalton, Georgia. And so Dalton, Georgia is a factory town about 2 hours north of Atlanta, where for generations, good, stable manufacturing jobs supported thousands of working families. But then about a decade ago, those jobs started getting shipped overseas. And for years, of course, politicians have promised to reinvest in communities like Dalton to rebuild American manufacturing, but they never delivered. So President Biden and I decided that it is time to fix that, and we decided to dramatically expand clean energy production and to do it here in America. And so on the story of Dalton, on this year alone, already we have created 2,500 new solar panel manufacturing jobs that have opened up in Dalton. And across the country, we have created more than 175,000 new clean energy jobs. Just so far, more to go. And this is all to do what we know we must do to meet the challenges of this moment. But of the challenges in terms of building a clean energy economy, we also know that the places where we create clean energy, like a solar farm in the desert or a wind farm off the coast, those places are often far away from where people actually live. And so, thinking about it, to get the energy where it is most needed, President Biden and I are also building thousands of miles of new high-voltage transmission lines, which is making a significant difference. For example, I was recently in rural Arizona to break ground on a project where 125 miles of high-voltage line will deliver clean electricity. Electricity from wind and solar farms in the Arizona desert, delivered to people millions of miles away, potentially, well, certainly thousands of miles away. Bit of a typo there. But delivered to millions of people in faraway places like Phoenix and Los Angeles and San Diego. And that electricity will not only be cleaner, it will also be cheaper. And so think about that. That means more money for working families, to buy groceries, to invest in home repairs, to be able to afford a vacation from time to time. And just think, every year working families pay thousands of dollars just to keep the fridge and lights on. So think about what this means. And for the president and me, one of our highest priorities then has been to lower energy costs, which is why we designed our climate policy and plan to give working families tax credits and rebates so they can afford to install new insulation and new windows, which of course increase energy efficiency and lower energy bills. And so they can better afford to replace their gas-burning furnace with an electric heat pump to heat and cool their home, which costs less money to run. And we're doing the same thing for businesses. We have made billions of dollars in tax credits available so clean energy upgrades can happen to businesses in terms of their buildings. And we have made sure these credits are not just available this year, not only this year, but for years to come. Because we know that for companies like this one, what we know is that when we increase the demand for solar panels and clean energy technology, we want to make sure that there is a consistent demand and it is predictable so that businesses have the confidence to invest in this new approach to doing work and building our economy. Consistency is something businesses need and want, and that is part of the intention of the design of our policy to give them that. In addition, all these investments create jobs, good paying union jobs. Yep. Jobs for workers like many of those who are here with us today, including plumbers and pipe fitters and members of IBEW and sheet metal workers, and the kind of folk who are just some of the most skilled and experienced workers in our nation, going to work every day to build our clean energy economy. For example, today, Ambrose Bradley is with us. Ambrose, where are you? Ambrose is with us, okay. Ambrose grew up in Oklahoma, and after high school, he joined the Air Force and worked as a mechanic on an F-16 fighter jet. When he left the Air Force, Ambrose joined Sheet Metal Workers Local 66. And today, Ambrose is a foreman fabricating metal for energy-efficient lighting, heating systems, and solar panels. So think about that. He went from F-16s to solar panels. Talk about highly skilled. Thank you, Ambrose. So all of this is to say, together we are building a clean energy economy, and through all our work, President Biden and I are building an economy that works for working people. And that, my friends, is called Bidenomics. And Bidenomics is working. Since we took office, President Biden and I have created more than 13 million new jobs, including nearly 400,000 jobs right here in Washington State. Today, the unemployment rate is near the lowest it has been in over half a century. Inflation is down and wages are up. And just last week, President Biden and I announced that we are giving more than 1 million workers on federal contracts a raise. Long overdue. Davis-Bacon, long overdue. Because the workers building our clean energy economy, and all workers, deserve to be paid fairly and for the value and the dignity of their work. So I'm going to close with this. So in my travels as Vice President, I have met with hundreds of young climate leaders among the many leaders I have met. I've met with college students in Michigan, climate justice activists in Miami, Native leaders in Arizona, and high school students in Denver. And I will tell you, these young leaders are guiding our nation in our climate fight. And as they have told me, their work is driven by their hope and their determination. Hope because they know we still have time to make a difference. And their determination is the determination to correct the course. So let us all share in their conviction, in their hope, in their determination. And let us continue to work to build a cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous future for everyone. And let us do so with optimism, because while we have more to do, with your partnership, the President and I have shown just how much we can accomplish together. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you.